The perpetual violet-blue glow of Chrysalis' 7 growth chambers was a constant, mocking reminder. Dr. Aris Thorne, his lean frame a familiar silhouette against the bioluminescent panels, moved with the practiced grace of a man performing penance. His salt-and-pepper hair, once the envy of Viridia's urban planning conferences, was now perpetually disheveled, mirroring the chaos in his soul. He adjusted his smudged, thick-rimmed glasses, the faint scar above his left eyebrow a phantom itch as he meticulously checked the nutrient drip for a row of Solara tomatoes. Their deep crimson, almost black, fruits pulsed with an internal light, a testament to his genius and his profound failure. He glanced towards the distant, utilitarian modules of the living quarters, stacked like industrial shipping containers against the cavern wall. His Green City initiative had promised equitable housing, vibrant communities. Instead, it had birthed Viridia's Ethereum spires, a vertical utopia for the privileged, and he now suspected this subterranean labyrinth for the displaced. The faces he saw moving through the growth chambers, tending the Vita crops, were predominantly of Eastern European Romani, Hispanic, and indigenous descent, the very communities his project had uprooted. The pattern was too consistent, too stark to be coincidence. The artificial sunlight, a constant, sterile dawn, felt less like a source of life and more like a spotlight on his complicity.
Lena Petrova's first breath inside Chrysalis 7 was a humid, earthy assault, thick with the scent of engineered blossoms and recycled air. The pulsating violet-blue light made her vibrant, dyed purple hair seem to throb, a defiant splash against the drab gray of the facility. She descended into this root system from the desolate Montana prairie, the disguised service elevator a metallic maw swallowing her whole. Her new living quarters module was a sterile box. A far cry from the open sky she'd left behind, but she'd seen worse. She always did.
First shift in growth chamber beta began with Marcus, a burly supervisor whose uniform strained against his paunch. He cracked his knuckles, a nervous habit that grated on her already frayed nerves. Petrova, he grunted, his voice gruff. You're on nutrient recalibration for Sector Gamma, and then the algae scrubbing in the upper tiers. Don't miss a spot.
He gestured to a section known for its stubborn biofilm, a task usually reserved for seasoned workers. It was a test, a subtle microaggression designed to assert dominance to see if she'd break. Lena's piercing blue eyes met his dull brown ones, a flicker of defiance in their depths. Understood, she said, her voice flat, but her internal monologue was a torrent of cynical observations. They think they can break us with busy work. They haven't met my grandmother.
The sterile hum of the control hub was a balm to Aris's agitated mind, a stark contrast to the vibrant, unsettling energy Lena brought. He sat before a bank of glowing screens, his fingers dancing across a holographic keyboard, subtly navigating through layers of corporate firewalls. He wasn't looking for anything specific, just a pattern, a confirmation of the unease Lena had stirred. He found it in the crop distribution logs, buried deep within a subdirectory labeled Viridia Prime Allocation. The data, cold and irrefutable, scrolled across his screen. 98. 7% of the high-yield Vita crops, the Solara tomatoes, the Ether greens, and the lumen berries were exclusively routed to the affluent, predominantly white districts of Viridia, the very city he had once revitalized. The remaining 3% was designated for community outreach programs in the peripheral, lower-income zones, often the same areas where the displaced communities had been shunted. His denial, a carefully constructed edifice of self-justification, began to crack, revealing the economic disparity embedded in the system, a truth far more insidious than he had ever imagined.
Air in growth chamber alpha was thick with the sweet-sour aroma of lumen berries, a scent that usually brought Javi a quiet comfort. Today it was overshadowed by the acrid tang of fear. Marcus, his face a mask of self-righteous fury, stood over Lena, a wilting ether green stalk clutched in his hand. Sabotage Petrova, he bellowed, his voice echoing off the biofiltration walls. This entire row is compromised. You touched it, didn't you, trying to undermine the yield?
Lena's jaw was set, her purple hair a defiant halo. I followed protocol, Marcus. That stalk was already diseased.
Javi, his broad shoulders hunched over a nearby Vita crop row, straightened slowly. His weathered hands, calloused from years of labor, rested on a glowing Solara tomato vine. He'd seen this tactic countless times, a false accusation, a power play designed to intimidate, to break a new worker. He cleared his throat, a quiet, measured sound that nonetheless cut through Marcus's bluster. Marcus, Javi said, his voice calm, authoritative. That blight has been spreading in Sector Gamma for 3 cycles. We reported it last week. Lena just started.
Marcus's face flushed, his eyes darting between Javi's steady gaze and Lena's unwavering stare. Javi's long-standing respect among the root dwellers, his quiet authority, was a force Marcus couldn't openly challenge without risking a wider disruption. "Just be more careful, Petrova," Marcus stammered, dropping the stalk and retreating, his knuckles cracking nervously.
Javi's internal monologue was a weary litany of past injustices, a quiet determination to protect his community from the insidious tactics of the overseers. They always try to break the new ones, but we always endure.
The secluded corridor, rarely used and dimly lit by emergency glow strips, felt like a confessional. Lena, her face etched with grim determination, held out a stack of brittle, yellowed documents. "You built this, didn't you, Dr. Thorne?" she asked, her voice low, devoid of its usual cynicism, replaced by a raw edge of accusation. "The Green City. My grandparents lost their farm because of it. They called it eminent domain for ecological revitalization. Oh, we called it theft."
Aris, his heart a leaden weight in his chest, took the documents. Old land deeds, internal memos from the nascent Veridian conglomerate, discarded in a forgotten storage box during a maintenance sweep Lena had been assigned. The dates aligned perfectly with the Green City Initiative. The memos detailed strategic land acquisitions at pre-revitalization rates, followed by the re-employment of displaced populations in ancillary agricultural support facilities. Chrysalis 7. The words blurred, then sharpened into a horrifying clarity. The silo wasn't just a research facility. It was a modern-day plantation built on stolen land, fueled by the descendants of the very communities he had inadvertently displaced. His idealism, once a shining beacon, now felt like a poisoned chalice. The full weight of his past, the insidious legacy of his life's work, crashed down, shattering his carefully constructed denial. The decontamination zone, a series of airlocks and UV light showers, hummed with a sterile, almost reverent silence. It was a liminal space, a symbolic crucible for their uneasy alliance. Aris, Lena, and Javi stood in the muted glow, the gravity of their decision hanging heavy in the recycled air.
"We need to expose this," Lena stated, her voice firm. "Not just Marcus, not just Vance, the whole system."
Aris, his eyes now alight with a grim resolve, nodded. "I can alter the crop yield data in the control hub, make it look like a minor system glitch, a miscalculation. But within the anomaly, I can embed a hidden message, a digital breadcrumb for external auditors if they ever look closely enough." He explained how a specific, seemingly random fluctuation in the Solara tomato yield, when cross-referenced with a particular batch number, would reveal a discrepancy in the Veridia Prime allocation, hinting at a deeper, systemic manipulation.
Lena, meanwhile, pulled a small, almost invisible recording device from her pocket. "Vance's office. I have a scheduled environmental scan next week. I can plant this during the check. It's small enough to go unnoticed and the battery lasts for weeks." Her plan was audacious, a calculated risk leveraging her access as a worker.
Javi, his face etched with a quiet determination, simply nodded, his presence a silent vow of support. The hum of the airlock seemed to intensify, sealing their pact.
The control hub was quiet, save for the rhythmic whir of servers. Aris, his fingers precise, executed the data alteration. A subtle shift in the Solara tomato yield, a phantom fluctuation that would, to the casual observer, appear as a minor system glitch. But to the right eyes, it would be a whisper of the truth, a quiet act of digital defiance. Later, in the living quarters, the artificial sunlight of the growth chamber seemed colder, but a flicker of hope ignited in Aris's eyes.
Director Vance, oblivious in his opulent office, had dismissed the anomaly report from the control hub as insignificant system noise. He was too focused on the uninterrupted flow of profit, too convinced of his own benevolent authority.
Aris, Lena, and Javi exchanged a look of grim determination. This was merely the first, quiet shot in a much larger, protracted battle against deeply entrenched systemic inequality. The violet labyrinth of Chrysalis 7, once a symbol of Aris's penance, was now the crucible of their rebellion. The fight had just begun.